Good morning. It's my pleasure to call this meeting of the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality to order. Today is Wednesday, August 11th. It's 9:30 a.m. Maybe I should mention the year. It's 2021, and what an odd year it is. With us today are Commissioners Emily Lindley and Commissioner Bobby Janetka, as well as our General Counsel, Mary Smith. I'm John Neerman. This meeting is a hybrid meeting today, meaning that most of the participants are with us virtually and not in the room. So I'd like to remind folks to please keep their phones on mute when they're not speaking. I'd also like to remind anyone who is here only to watch and listen to the meeting that they can do so online, and that link is available on our agenda notice. For each item where argument or discussion is allowed, we will inform speakers of their time limits. Registration has now closed, but if you would like to address the commission on a particular topic, please email agenda@tceq.texas.gov with your name, affiliation, and the item you'd like to speak to, and we will do our best to accommodate that request. For those of you who are making presentations, please wait to begin until either I or our General Counsel have asked you to do so. And please remember to unmute your line before you speak. With that, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us, the few in person and most of you virtually. And Ms. Smith, I'll ask you to please call the first item.
Item number 1 is the application by Rockport Terminals for renewal of TPDES permit number WQ00020777000. The parties have been notified that the commissioners will not take oral argument but may ask questions.
So colleagues, on this item, we have a threshold issue as to whether this is a no increase renewal under Texas Water Code 26.028D, for which there is no right to a contested case hearing. It's clear that there will be no increase in the quantity of waste and that the effluent limitations won't change. But the briefing by the Executive Director and the Office of Public Interest Counsel indicate that there may be a somewhat closer call as to whether there's a material change in the pattern and place of discharge, and that relates to the closure of evaporation pond number 1. OPIC contends that this does constitute a material change. The Executive Director takes the opposite view, that this does not constitute a material change, and to be clear, a material change in the pattern and place of the discharge. And so the Executive Director therefore concludes that the application meets all of the elements of 26028D and that there is no right to a hearing. I tend to agree with the Executive Director, but even if there were a right to a contested case in this matter, the sole requester, Mr. Donovan, has not identified his address, nor has he identified a personal issue that would be distinct from the general public. So he cannot be considered an affected person, even if there were a right to a hearing. So you can choose your reasons on this way, but I think we're compelled to deny this request. Commissioner Lindley.
I'm in agreement. I don't think a hearing is warranted on this application.
Thank you. Commissioner Janetka?
I likewise reached the same conclusion. I think that OPIC raises very well-founded points that, on balance, I don't agree really raise to the threshold of meriting a right to a hearing request. So, if y'all are amenable, I've got a motion to make on this. I would move that we find that no right to a hearing exists on the application, that we deny the hearing request of John Power Donovan, that we issue the renewal of permit number WQ00020777000 to Rockport Terminals, LLC, as recommended by the Executive Director, and finally that we adopt the Executive Director's response to comments.
I second.
The motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Ms. Smith, please call the next item.
Item number 2 is the application by Energy Texas Power LLC for permit renewal number 7704. The parties have been notified that the commissioners will not take oral argument but may ask questions.
So colleagues, we have a similar question here, but now in the context of an air permit. And what's different on this one is the Executive Director and OPIC are unanimous that the application does meet all of the elements of, in this case, Texas Health and Safety Code, Section 382.056G and O, for a no increase renewal, such that there is no right to a contested case hearing. And I do see it the same way and believe that we are compelled to deny these requests. Commissioner Lindley?
I'm in agreement.
Commissioner Janeka?
Likewise.
I'll entertain a motion.
I would move that we find that no right to a hearing exists on the application, that we deny all hearing requests, that we grant the renewal of air permit number 7704 to NRG Texas Power LLC as recommended by the Executive Director, and adopt the Executive Director's response to comments.
I second the motion.
The motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Ms. Smith, please call the next item.
Item number 3 is a petition from Spradley Farms LTD for the creation of Spradley Farms Improvement District. The petitioner seeks the district's creation and should present the matter, followed by any interested persons. Presently, no one signed in to talk other than the petitioner. The ED and OPIC. The Office of General Counsel recommends limiting the parties to 5 minutes for presentations, and the petitioner may reserve time for rebuttal as they bear the burden of proof.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. And I understand we have Mr. Crawford on the line representing the petitioner. Are you there, sir?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I am here. I'm with the law firm of Crawford and Jordan, attorneys for the applicant. Also with me, probably the most important person with me here today is a lady named Rachel Coward with Nehemiah Company. She is our technician who's helping us participate mechanically in this hearing. Also with me is Mr. Charlie Spradley, who is the managing general partner of the Spradley Farms Limited Partnership, which owns all of the land within the district. We're also pleased to have Mr. Cliff Kahili, who the city manager for the city of Mesquite. He's participating from his office there at the city of Mesquite. We also have with us Mr. Ted Chin, who's the Director of Economic Development for the city. Mr. John Jordan with Nehemiah Company, who is our proposed developer. Mr. Chris Connors and Josh Steiger with Graham Associates, project engineer. Mr. Ryan Nesmith with Baird Company, our proposed financial advisor. Just a brief summary. Our district consists of 2 non-contiguous tracts, containing approximately 622 acres. All of the land is located within the corporate limits of the city of Mesquite and Coffin County, and within the city of Mesquite tax increment reinvestment zone number 13. The city has given consent to our project. The purpose of our project is to provide water, sewer, and drainage facilities and roads, parks, and green space for the property. Currently, it's not served with these facilities. So the purpose of the district is to provide for the acquisition, construction, and financing of all water, sewer, drainage, and road facilities, as well as open space and amenities for the project. The current land plan calls for a residential community of between 2,500 and 2,800 homes, an elementary school, 7 acres of commercial development, and over 200 acres of open space and trails. We have a unique but historically successful financing structure that would involve the district unlimited tax rate plus tax increment financing contributions from the city, which makes our project feasible. Our project team has reviewed the staff recommendations, and we are in agreement with them. We've also reviewed the proposed draft order, and we're also agree with its terms and conditions. So we request that you act on our petition, and our project team members are here today to answer any questions, technical questions you may have regarding the project.
Well, thank you, Mr. Crawford. I appreciate the presentation. I want to thank you for assembling all the stakeholders and thank them for being here and being part of the meeting this morning. I think this was maybe a result of your organization, but the petition seems pretty straightforward to me, and without any complicated issues. I don't have any questions at this point. Commissioner Lindley, any questions
No
for Mr.
questions.
Crawford? Commissioner Janeka?
No questions. I do want to just echo those sentiments. I'm impressed the thoroughness that's on display in managing all the stakeholders and displaying very clearly to the commission that there is strong local consensus for this support of this project.
Ms. Smith, is there anyone signed in to speak on this item?
No.
I guess we'll hear next from the Executive Director.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners, General Counsel, and Public Interest Counsel. My name is Bobby Salehi. I'm an attorney with the Environmental Law Division representing the Executive Director. With me today is Chris Ullman with the Districts Division. The Executive Director received a petition from Spradley Farms, Ltd. for the creation of Spradley Farms Improvement District of Kaufman County, pursuant to Chapter 375 of the Texas Local Government Code. We have reviewed the petition and concluded that all applicable requirements have been met. The ED recommends granting the petition for district creation. We're available for any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Salehi. I have none. Commissioner Lindley?
No questions, thanks.
Commissioner Janeka?
None, thank you.
Mr. McWhirter, what do you think?
OPIC agrees with the Executive Director's findings and conclusions that the creation of this district is feasible, practicable, and would benefit the land within the district. We recommend granting the petition and issuing the order for creation of Spradley Farms Improvement District of Kaufman County as presented by the Executive Director.
Thank you, Mr. McWhirter. Colleagues, our task, of course, is to determine whether this petition has met all the procedural and substantive requirements for such a petition, and also to determine whether the proposed district is feasible, necessary, and would benefit the public. Upon my review, it appears the petition is appropriate and that the district is indeed feasible, necessary, and a benefit to the public. In addition, I think that the initial directors are all qualified, and I do think it's very significant that the city of Mesquite is in full support of this petition. So I'm just going to go ahead and make the motion that we grant the petition for the creation of Spradley Farms Improvement District of Kaufman County and issue the executive director's recommended commission order for creating the district and appointing 5 initial directors. And Commissioner Lindley, I'll ask you if you have any thoughts or comments or want to offer a second.
I will let my other commissioners speak, but I would second it.
Commissioner
Nothing to add.
Janeka?
I'm in agreement as well.
All right, I heard a second, so the motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Ms. Smith, please call the next item.
Item number 4 is the consideration for adoption on 2 total maximum daily loads for indicator bacteria in the Caney Creek watershed. The Executive Director's staff is here to present the item.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners, General Counsel, and Public Interest Counsel. For the record, I am Karen Neiman with the Water Quality Planning Division in the Office of Water. With me today are Nicole Hall with the Total Maximum Daily Load Program and Stephanie Skogan with the Environmental Law Division. Today, the Executive Director is respectfully requesting the consideration for final adoption of 2 total maximum daily loads for indicator bacteria in the Caney Creek watershed. The TMDLs cover 2 assessment units in 2 stream segments within Brazoria, Matagorda, and Wharton counties. A stakeholder group was formed with balanced representation of all interested parties and was tasked with providing input on the TMDL document. The development of this document included an active public participation effort and balanced stakeholder group coordinated by TCQ and the Houston-Galveston Area Council. The success of this project is due to the collaborative effort of the individuals and organizations that put in the time to develop this document to improve water quality in their communities. The Executive Director respectfully requests the adoption of the total maximum daily loads. Permission is also requested to make non-substantive and clerical corrections. Thank you, and we are available to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Neiman. I have none. Commissioner Lindley?
No questions, thanks.
Commissioner Janeka?
None, thank you.
Ms. Smith, has anyone signed in to speak?
No.
And let's hear from the Office of Public Interest Counsel.
OPIC recommends adoption of 2 total maximum daily loads for indicator bacteria in the Caney Creek watershed of the Brazos, Colorado coastal basin as presented by the Executive Director.
Thank you, Mr. McWhirter. Colleagues, I want to begin by thanking the Houston-Galveston Area Council as well as members of the Caney Creek Coordination Committee and agency staff for all of their work on these two TMDLs. They do appear to be technically sound and otherwise appropriate, and I think I'm ready to move forward with them. Commissioner Lindley?
I'm in complete agreement.
Likewise. I will make a motion that we adopt the 2 total maximum daily loads for indicator bacteria in Caney Creek watershed as recommended by the executive director.
I second.
The motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries. Ms. Smith, I understand we're going to take the next 2 items up together, so I'll have you call those now.
That's correct. Items number 5 and 6 are consideration for adoption of one total maximum daily, total maximum daily load for indicator bacteria and the associated implementation plan in Arenosa Creek of the Bays and Estuary Basin. The executive director's staff is here to present the item.
Good morning again.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners, General Counsel, and Public Interest Counsel. For the record, I am Karen Neiman with the Water Quality Planning Division in the Office of Water. With me today are Nicole Hall with the Total Maximum Daily Load Program and Stephanie Scogan with the Environmental Law Division. Today, the Executive Director is respectfully requesting the consideration for final adoption of one total maximum daily load and final approval of one implementation plan for indicator bacteria in Arenosa Creek. The TMDL covers one assessment unit in one stream segment within Jackson, Lavaca, and Victoria counties. The stakeholder group was formed with balanced representation of all interested parties and was tasked with providing input on the TMDL document and making decisions regarding the implementation of the TMDL. The success of this project is due to the collaborative effort of the individuals and organizations that put in the time to develop this document to improve water quality in their communities. The Executive Director respectfully requests the adoption of the total maximum daily load and approval of the implementation plan. Permission is also requested to make non-substantive and clerical corrections. Thank you, and we're available to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Neiman. I have none. Commissioner Lindley?
No questions. This program's been very busy. I'm impressed.
Indeed. A lot on our docket this morning. Commissioner Janeka?
No questions at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Smith, is there anyone signed in to speak?
No one is registered on these items.
Thank you. And Mr. McWhirter, we're going to turn to you again for your thoughts.
OPIC recommends adoption of one total maximum daily load and approval of the corresponding implementation plan for indicator bacteria in Arenosa Creek of the Bays and Estuaries Basin in Jackson, Lavaca, and Victoria counties as presented by the Executive Director.
Thank you, Mr. McWhirter. Colleagues, I want to begin here by thanking the Texas Water Resources Institute and again, agency staff for their great work on this TMDL and I-Plan. They appear appropriate to me, and I'm ready to move forward with them.
As in mine, I have a motion if we're ready. I move that we adopt the draft total maximum daily load and the corresponding implementation plan for indicator bacteria in Arenosa Creek in the Bays and Estuaries Basin as recommended by the Executive Director.
I second that motion, and I have to just take the opportunity to point out and observe that this team has been very busy in working at it, but I'm pleased to see the diverse array of tools that are at our agency and the stakeholders' fingertips in trying to address these concerns in our watersheds in the state. I appreciate the comments and feedback from the public, and I'm pleased to see that we'll be looking at past the implementation plan for this water basin at a watershed protection plan that also may help us levy efforts across multiple implementation plans across multiple needs across the region. So, lengthy second.
Appreciate those comments. Thank you, Commissioner Janeka. I've heard a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Ms. Smith, please call the next item.
Item number 7 is the consideration of the adoption of one total maximum daily load for indicator bacteria in Hillebrand Bayou of the Neches Trinity Coastal Basin. The Executive Director's staff is here to present this item.
Good morning again, Mr. Neiman.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners, General Counsel, and Public Interest Counsel. For the record, I am Kerry Neiman with the Water Quality Planning Division in the Office of Water. With me today are Nicole Hall with the Total Maximum Daily Load Program and Stephanie Scogan with the Environmental Law Division. Today, the Executive Director is respectfully requesting the consideration for final adoption of one total maximum daily load for indicator bacteria in Hillebrand Bayou. The TMDL covers one assessment unit in one stream segment within Jefferson County. The stakeholder group was formed with balanced representation of all interested parties and was tasked with providing input on the TMDL document. The development of this document included an active public participation effort and balanced stakeholder group coordinated by TCQ and the Texas Water Resources Institute. The success of this project is due to the collaborative effort of the individuals and organizations that put in the time to develop the document to improve water quality in their community. The Executive Director respectfully requests the adoption of the total maximum daily load. Permission is also requested to make non-substantive and clerical corrections. Thank you, and we're available to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Neiman. I have none. Commissioner Lindley?
No questions, thanks.
Commissioner Janeka?
Likewise, thank you.
Ms. Smith, is there anyone signed in to speak?
No.
And Mr. McWhorter, what do you think?
OPIC recommends adoption of one total maximum daily load for indicator bacteria in Hildebrandt Bayou of the Neches Trinity Coastal Basin in Jefferson County as presented by the Executive Director.
Thank you. Again, I want to thank the Texas Water Resources Institute agency staff and all of our stakeholders for their great work on this Hildebrandt Bayou TMDL. Again, it appears technically sound, and I think I'm ready to move forward with it. Do I hear a second? Or do I hear a motion? Or any comments?
Not seeing any comments. I'll swoop in and make a motion that we adopt the total maximum daily load for indicator bacteria in Hildebrandt Bayou of the Neches Trinity Coastal Basin as recommended by the Executive Director.
I second.
Thank you, colleagues. The motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Ms. Smith, please call the next item.
Item number 8 is the consideration of a resolution reauthorizing the executive director to enter and manage all contracts and to delegate authority to staff. The executive director's staff is here to present this item.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners, General Counsel, and Public Interest Counsel. My name is Yen Tran, Senior Attorney of the General Law Division, representing the Executive Director. This item relates to the administration of contracts and grants on behalf of the Commission. Chapter 5 of the Texas Water Code authorizes the Executive Director to manage the administrative affairs of the Commission under general supervision and direction of the Commission. Specifically, Section 5.229 authorizes the Executive Director to negotiate and enter contracts and other agreements with various entities to carry out the Commission's powers, duties, and responsibilities. Section 5.124 of the Water Code authorizes the Executive Director, with the consent of the Commission, to award grants for any resource conservation or environmental protection purpose. Section 2261.254 of the Government Code permits the Commission to authorize the Executive Director to approve and sign contracts for the purchase of goods and services that are valued over $1 million. This section also allows the Deputy Executive Director to sign contracts over $1 million. Finally, for the efficiency in making payments, the Texas Comptroller of Public Accounts allows the governing body of a state agency to authorize the agency's executive director to designate one or more individuals to approve the agency's payment documents pursuant to 34 TAC 5.61H1. The Commission retains oversight of the contracts and grants through 2 existing practices. 1, selected contract briefings on a quarterly and as-needed basis from the Executive Director and staff, including reporting by the Financial Administration Division for contracts of $5 million or more. 2, quarterly agenda item to consider material changes to contracts pursuant to Section 2155.088 of the Texas Government Code. The proposed resolution delegates authority to the Executive Director for these purposes through August 31st, 2023, continuing the authority previously granted in Resolution 2019-0463-RES, issued August 5th, 2019. The Executive Director respectfully requests your approval for the proposed resolution. As always, I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Tran. I have none. Commissioner Lindley, any questions?
No questions, thanks.
Commissioner Janeka?
No questions. Thank you.
Ms. Smith, do we have anyone signed in?
No one signed in on this one.
Thank you. And Mr. McWhorter, what are your thoughts?
OPIC recommends the Commission approve the resolution reauthorizing the Executive Director to enter and manage contracts and to delegate authority to staff.
Thank you. Colleagues, I think the Commission does indeed have appropriate oversight over the agency's contracts consistent with state law, and it makes sense to continue those practices by reauthorizing delegation.
I'm in agreement. And, I can make a motion, but
No, I just wanted to point out, I appreciate the gravity and the importance of this authority, and recall from my time in the ranks of staff how seriously and how closely all contracts that the agency took on behalf of the agency. But I recall, Commissioner Lindley, you would be able to speak much more directly to how seriously I'm sure the executive office contemplated the prospect of these threshold amounts in trying to structure contracts. So I'm pleased to see the implementation of the broader state's expectations for contracting and procurement activities handed down to agencies as we carry that out.
I'm in agreement. And I will move that we adopt the contract delegation resolution as recommended by the executive director.
I second the motion.
And I appreciate those comments, Commissioner Janeka, and really there's a few things that we do that are more important than, there are a few of them, but more important than guarding Texas taxpayers' dollars. And so I know we all take that very seriously. I appreciate your comments. The motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Ms. Smith, please call the next item.
Item number 9 is the consideration and approval of the agency's fiscal year 2022 operating budget. The executive director's staff is here to present the item.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners, Special Interest Groups. Today, I would like to present the FY22 operating budget for consideration and approval. On page 1, we provide a appropriation summary for the FY22 operating budget, which also compares to FY21 data. As you can see, the overall appropriation for 22 is $336.6 million, with approximately 2,812 FTEs. Items to note would be the contingency riders that we received for Senate Bill 3, which appropriates $1.1 million and 17 FTEs relating to preparing for, preventing, and responding to weather emergencies and power outages, as well as the contingency rider for Senate Bill 900, which appropriates 119,002 FTEs relating to the safety of above-ground storage tanks by creating a new program titled the Bulk Storage Vessel Performance Standards. The major differences between 22 and 21 is the net impact of TERP, which has moved outside of the appropriation process beginning in FY22. Baseline appropriations include $1.4 million related to TERP for temporary cash flow needs and is excluded from subsequent pages of this operating budget summary. On page 2, we provide a method of finance summary for FY22 operating budget. The budget totals, excluding that $1.4 million related to TERP, totals $335.2 million and is largely funded with general revenue dedicated accounts or fee-generating sources, which represents 79% or $264.3 million, while general revenue is 6% or $20.8 million. Federal funds represents 12% or $39.9 million, and other funds are 3% or $10.2 million of the operating budget. On page 3, we provide an FTE comparison between FY22 and FY21. Again, our total FTEs for 22 is approximately 2,812 FTEs, with a reduction of 17.5 FTEs. This is a net result of the TERP, the 90 FTEs attributed to TERP moving outside of the appropriation process. It's not a reduction, they're just moving outside of the appropriation process. And the 7 FTEs for aggregate production operations and 30 FTEs for the lead and copper revision included in our baseline appropriation, as well as the 17 FTEs received as a result of the SB3 contingency rider. On page 4, we provide a budget comparison summary by office. As you can see, the FY22 shows a reduction of $44.4 million or a 12% decrease from the previous year, primarily as a result of TERP moving outside of the appropriation process. And on page 5, we provide a summary by budget category, again with the major impact related to turf. Page 6 provides a breakout of the remediation reimbursement and grant contracts for FY22, while the next 2 pages of the summary provide detailed information regarding capital budget and the associated IT descriptions for capital projects. While the last page of the summary provides in a summary of the FY22 estimated program needs for the individual TERP programs, as well as statutory allocations for each of the programs listed. I'm available for questions if there are any.
Thank you. I have none. Commissioner Lindley, any questions?
No questions. Just appreciate all the work that went into this.
Commissioner Janeka?
I just want to ask a very obtuse, intentionally obtuse question to reiterate one more time for my benefit when inevitably I think stakeholders may level sharp criticism at our agency looking at data points from 10,000 feet. This is not a reduction to the Office of Air. This is not a reduction to the funding provided to agency activities and programs, and this is not a reduction to the funding and efforts that are directed through the TERP grants and related programs provided by the state of Texas and our agency. Is that correct?
Correct. This is not a reduction to the, it is not a reduction. It is simply removing these items as they're outside of the appropriation process.
Thank you. I appreciate you indulging me in that question, and I have no others.
All right. Well, now you've opened up a pet peeve of mine. I'm not going to comment on it right now, but I might feel compelled to do that in a moment. Are there any interested persons signed in to speak?
No one has signed in on this.
Okay. Mr. McWhirter, what are your thoughts?
OPIC recommends approval of the fiscal year 2022 operating budget as presented by the Executive Director.
Thank you, Mr. McWhirter. Just real quickly, Commissioner Janeka, people have looked at our budget and drawn conclusions about what the legislature has done, specifically in connection with our enforcement budget, and either because they're ill-informed or have a particular agenda, they've drawn conclusions that are just flat up incorrect about it. So when those instances happen, we've made some efforts to try to correct the record. You can only reach so many people. So it's frustrating that people would misrepresent what the legislature has given this agency to meet our responsibilities. But what can you do? Try to correct the record. Thanks for bringing up the issue, though. I do think that the operating budget is appropriate to meet our agency's current responsibilities, and I'm ready to move forward with approval if y'all are.
I am.
Likewise, entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the fiscal year 2022 operating budget as requested by the Executive Director.
I second.
The motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Ms. Smith, please call the enforcement docket.
Items 10 through 37 are the enforcement docket, and the Executive Director's staff is here to present these matters.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners, General Counsel, and Public Interest Counsel. For the record, my name is Melissa Cordell of the Enforcement Division, and with me today are Susan Jablonski, also of the Enforcement Division, and Charmaine Backens of the Litigation Division representing the Executive Director. Pending before you are items 10 through 37. The total assessed administrative penalties are $428,367, with $57,435 deferred, $82,961 applied toward supplemental environmental projects, and $287,971 to the general revenue. We respectfully request approval of these items and are available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Cordell. I have none. Commissioner Lindley?
No questions, thanks.
Commissioner Janeka?
No, thank you.
Ms. Smith, is there anyone signed in wishing to speak?
No, on items 10, 12, and 20, we have individuals signed in who are available for questions, but no one has indicated that they wish to speak.
Thank you, and we certainly appreciate those folks being with us this morning. Mr. McWhirter, what are your thoughts?
My office reviewed these items and we support approval of the proposed orders.
Thank you. I agree. Colleagues, this looks appropriate to me. I think I'm ready to move forward on the docket. Commissioner Lindley?
I'm in agreement, and I will move that we adopt items 10 through 37 as recommended by the Executive Director.
I second that motion.
The motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Ms. Smith, please call the next item.
Item 38 has been continued, so that brings us to item 39, the public comment session. We don't have anyone currently signed in to speak, but we will pause and let the line be unmuted so that we can see if anyone wants to address the commission. Hearing no one, that will move us along to our items posted for executive session 40 through 43. The commission will not meet in closed session today.
With that, the time is 10:06 and we are adjourned.